Venture into the unknown. As soon as I heard about this theme, I was taken back to a turning point in my life through which the unknown got the better of me, but I made sure to get the better of it as well. Now, the unknown is perceived as scary, vague, or even dark. But I had to learn that the unknown is just a vital element in the process of becoming. Elaborating more on that, I would like to share a personal anecdote about what I call a survival story, which took place during a refugee journey to Germany, my journey in 2014. Now, before I drafted this talk, I was tempted to look into some inspiration on the internet about refugee stories. However, I quickly then realized that the feelings and memories and experiences of being a refugee had almost become a forgotten memory. Those feelings consisted mostly of being frightened and hopeful for a better future at the same time. Now, the fact that I had to be reminded really just shows that I am here today sharing a story of success, survival, and bravery, rather than just a traumatic experience. Now, diving into the story and starting from the very beginning, as a kid, I used to travel a lot with my mom due to her job as a medical doctor. Just before first grade began, my mother and I settled in Iraq, her homeland. And it was my first time ever being there. Fast forward to the age of 13, one night, my mother and I had just done groceries, which she loaded into her car. And as she was starting the car's engines, the supermarket suddenly exploded. It was attacked by terrorists. Had we stayed there for a couple of minutes more, we would have been one of the casualties. This night was the absolute peak of how much my mother and I could tolerate living unsafely in Iraq. And hence we decided to leave it once and for all. Because, unfortunately, such events happen in a frequent and random manner. Now, we decided to go to Istanbul. We left everything. We left our home, people, school, house, everything. As we were in Istanbul, we have faced so many failed attempts to migrate somewhere safe. And after 2 years of failing, and after every attempt was falling apart, it was time that we have decided to take on an illegal journey to Germany. We have gone through this infamous, most legal yet illegal refugee journey that is through the Mediterranean route in 2014. In this route, we had to cross from Turkey to Greece, Macedonia, Serbia, Hungary, Austria, the Czech Republic, and then finally, Germany. Had we thought about the consequences and the dangers of such a journey or adventure that mostly really consist of walking to Germany, crossing international waters, and dealing with smugglers, we would not have ever gone through with it. Not in a million years. Not in a million years. According to the UN, around 219,000 people, refugees, have arrived by sea in Europe in 2014 alone. They were in devastating states because of two factors. The number of people that smugglers push into those small boats, they really aimed for the maximum number of people. And then for factor number 2, which followed as a result, the late rescuing responses for people who are perhaps having difficulties in sea. Now, both of those factors I can confirm, which sadly leads to the statistics that the International Organization for Migration States or shares is that since 2014, around 23,000 people who have been going through that Mediterranean route are still missing. Now, on the first step of the journey, crossing to Greece, we found ourselves being asked to step into a small boat on a tremendously dark night by very angry smugglers. It was a truly life-changing moment for me because we were asked to make a decision to step into literal unknown, literal darkness, literal nothing. So I hesitated. My mother hesitated. Every one of the other 20 people being asked to step into this small boat hesitated. But it was really a matter of now or never. So we took it. Despite all of the unknowns associated, despite all of the question marks. But the biggest unknown was the question, how will we survive this? We summoned all of our strength and took a step into the boat with utter and complete trepidation. The guy on the boat drove with full speed, showing a terrifying lack of experience. And then, bam, the boat crashed. Just 10 minutes into the journey, into an enormous rock. But good news, we've made it to the Greek coast. We staggered out of the thankfully shallow water and found ourselves dazed, wet, and weary on what appeared to be a deserted island. The surroundings looked dark and steeply mountainous. The only thing I could see, or I could remember, was a faint reflection of the moonlight on the utterly and frighteningly quiet water. One more thing I could see was the fear and surrender and give up on people's faces. It makes sense. We had no provisions, no food, no water, no internet or phone connection. So it makes sense to give up. But I didn't. I kept on reaching out. I kept on hoping for every little connection. And kept on calling on my, at that time, iPhone 6. Notice how I said iPhone 6. It really hasn't been that long. And it is still happening nowadays. Now, after 10 hours of unsuccessful calls, we were finally rescued. And the police asked for the little girl who had persistently asked for help. Interestingly, after this darkest night of my life, I was able to see the brightness that followed. Now, on that note, I would like to propose an analogy to the unknown. An unknown in the mathematics is given letters like X or Y, and can be really solved into anything. But unlike in the mathematics, in your and my life, we decide what this unknown should be. And this darkness that is associated with it is really can really just be seen as a clear page in the narratives of yours and mine. or can be seen as a canvas on which dreams and the future can be drawn. That time on that island, I obviously did not think about this analogy yet, and I was scared and I was petrified, but wouldn't any 14-year-old girl be? And so, you see, our minds cannot really process the unknown and sees it as dark and impossible. However, then it is our job to merge the impossible with the possible. And this really applies to every and each situation in our life where the outcomes are unknown. Now, continuing more about the new life after I have arrived to Germany, I had a difficult time finding the person I had been or the one I wanted to be. And so I was at the lowest point of my life. After spending 2 years in a German school, I had my worst grades ever, after being the absolute best in every school I have ever been to. And also, I simply was not finding any enjoyment in my life, in any aspect of my life. But it was then time to turn this around. It was time to turn yet another dark picture into a much, much brighter present, where I sought success on academic and social levels. Now, success is relative, and how you turn your darkness into brightness really depends on what you want to achieve and who you want to be. But those small day-to-day successes mattered to me tremendously. And so, this was when I was very proud of myself for having picked up a new language in Leipzig International School, English, and have improved my grades exponentially. This somehow led to graduating with one of the strongest school programs across the globe, and having had a performance that puts me roughly in the top 8%. Now you see, if I hadn't stepped into the unknown, I could not have discovered just how far I could get. On a non-academic note, I had never been particularly sporty, and I imagined being so. So I started playing basketball in 10th grade. And that escalated into so many amazing things and ended up with me being nominated to the title of the female athlete of the year 2021 in LIS, amongst incredible people, and have received it. I'm gonna end my speech with one thought. I came here saying that I am a story of success and that I was at low points of my life and had watched those going into amazing high points. But here is the catch. The future that awaits is still an enormous unknown. But guess what? I am ready to conquer that. And I am ready to turn my current brightness into an even brighter future. And if I am ready, then so are you. And now, it is your turn to write the narrative of your unknown.